don't you just love a meaningful SmackDown? Let's talk about the qualifying matches for the Saturday night main event Fatal 4-Way match. So again, as we all know, there were a couple qualifiers. We had the Randy Orton versus The Miz. We also had Trick Williams versus Matt Cardona. We had Sami Zayn versus Ilya Dragunov. And we also had Solo Sikoa versus Damian Priest. If you watch my previous video, I've gotten all my picks. All my picks were correct. Damian Priest went on to beat Solo with the help of the Wyatts. We had Trick Williams beat Matt Cardona with the trick shot. We had Randy Orton win with the RKO. And we also had Sami Zayn pick up the victory over Ilya Dragunov. So again, we have some progression. We have a timeline. We have a structure for what's happening next. We have those four gentlemen at Saturday night's main event who are going to qualify to who faces Drew McIntyre at the Royal Rumble. So before we get too far ahead, let's go back to the beginning of the show. We had Drew McIntyre with a slightly special entrance, came out with the bagpipes, repping his Scottish land, feeling good, feeling cocky, feeling arrogant, and he had that energy of a champion. Was able to start off the show letting everyone know how he felt about his journey, completely getting screwed, constantly losing, and the fact that he dreamt. That was a callback to CM Punk. He dreamt of this, he got the moment, and he got over on Cody. The fact that he said that there's a non-rematch in the contract clause means that Cody's going to have to scratch and call and get back to the top. These are good, intricate details because now we have a different roadmap for WrestleMania. In our minds, we already had that we're going to see Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns at some point, and a lot of reports are saying that has been scrapped. So this is good. This is fresh. We can't have that same match back-to-back or in a triple WrestleMania playing field. I know Cody had faced John Cena, but previously it was Roman Reigns those both times. So we need to space that out. We need to make sure we have enough space for the algorithm to make sure we can digest that match. We're not ready for that match. Roman hasn't been on any programming at all, and when he comes, he leaves, so there's no build. So I believe Roman will be doing whatever he needs to do on Raw in order to move his storyline forward, but until he actually comes back on a full-time, whatever it's a part-time, full-time, where he's actually on the show and presenting information, we don't need that. So that's been scrapped. We don't have to worry about that. But let's just dive back in. As Drew McIntyre is talking about all of this, he gets interrupted by Randy Orton, and Randy Orton makes it very clear that Drew hesitated, kicking his head in, but Randy said if he gets the opportunity, he will take his head off. So we're seeing those glimpses of Randy Orton. We want to see what ends up happening. That'd be a nice feud to revisit, but we've got to see how everything builds. As they continue to talk, there's an interruption and Jacob Fatu comes out. He goes straight to work. He wastes zero time getting at Drew McIntyre, and Drew McIntyre has to get up and leave. He runs off, and that pretty much almost ends that segment. Miz pulls the behind, hits Randy Orton with a skull-crushing finale, and that kicks off their match as they start off as the first match of the night. All right, Miz had some good offense in that match, putting a lot of pressure on Randy Orton to get things going. It got to the point where Miz had to hit another skull-crushing finale. Randy Orton kicked out, but ultimately we know how this goes. Randy Orton gets the W with the RKO. That was an obvious match for Randy Orton to win. Miz hasn't really been in the WWE title picture in quite some time. His last championship was when he basically beat Drew with the Money in the Bank help with Bobby Lashley just to be a transitional champion. So right now we don't need that role for the Miz. Miz is more so helping out the younger talent and being a mouthpiece on the roster. So again, we never really expected him to be in that match, so everything is fine there. We get into a backstage segment. We have Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss talking about the US Championship last week and if they really have each other's back. It seems like the Nia Jax and Lash Legend banter is really getting into their heads, and I think they're trying to play into breaking up the tag team. If that's going to happen, I don't think that trick's going to work. There'll be other things that will factor in, and I feel like we'll see something like that play out once it gets to Fastlane and Elimination Chamber time. So there's either going to be a qualifier or they're going to actually start bumping heads. But I don't think that the shield's gonna crack yet. I don't think there's gonna be kinks in the armor as of yet. We'll just have to wait on that and see what's going on. We eventually end up having the tag team match with Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss versus Julia and Kiana James. So the match they had a little back and forth. I feel like the match seemed like it was kind of rushed and they probably had time cut out of the match. That's what it looked like from my perspective. But nonetheless, Charlotte Flair and Alexa were able to capture the W, pinning Kiana James with the Sister Abigail DDT. Nia and Lash came out of the crowd and attacked Julia, threw her into the mat, came in and attacked Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, and they got into a standoff with Julia and Kiana James. So it looks like they're progressing to a triple threat title match, number one contender match between those three teams that were just mentioned: Nia Jax, Lash, Charlotte, Alexa, Julia, and Kiana. The only problem with that situation is Kiana is the United States champion right now, and she should be focusing on that division. We already have a lack of contenders for her, so adding her into the tag team championship mix, I don't think that strengthens the position. So again, I'll call that an L on that situation. But again, we got to figure out what they're doing with that mid-card title. Either we're going to figure out if they're going to get some heat on her or some charisma so that she can build with the actual audience. But that's one of the factors that need to be addressed. I'm not a big fan of that, but that's what we have on the docket for next week. All right, moving past that, we end up getting Trick Williams versus Matt Cardona. That was a very good match. Trick Williams comes out, gets a very good pop, good energy. And I'm telling you, this guy has superstar qualities written all over him. And you got to give a big shout out to Booker T as well, because without that hype man, like Trick's theme is already hitting, but with Booker T on the ad-libs, oh yeah, man, that's Trick. I miss that. I wish Booker T was actually on SmackDown to keep that momentum going, because commentary like that helps push the superstar to the next level. But everyone's already engaged. Everyone likes his theme. Everyone likes his look. It's a shame that he's not a face right now, but the heel work is working. He's doing what he needs to do. He pulled out a convincing victory against Matt Cardona and got the W. After the match, Kit Wilson came out, did his liberal, toxic masculinity shtick, right, threw Matt into the steel steps. And it looks like they're probably going to continue a feud. And I think something like that would be good for Matt. I think he's been away from the WWE for quite some time, so establishing himself and getting some W's would be really good. I feel like he's lost twice, probably 3 times already, and that's not great for momentum building. So it would be nice to see him get on the winning side, build some, get his reputation back in the WWE instead of what he's been doing in the Indies, and hopefully get into a situation where he goes for the United States Championship. So this doesn't have to be in the near future, but it would be good for him to start getting on the winning side, establish himself, or if, depending on how he's being booked or where he's at in his career, he might just be a body on SmackDown. So Kit Wilson gets attacked. Jacob Fatu pulls up, hits him with the moonsaults and calls out Cody, basically says, if you have something you want to say or if there's something you want to do, pull up. And without hesitation, you already know how Cody is, the American Nightmare, pulls up and he has the smoke. He has the smoke for Jacob Fatu, and they get into it. So they had to break them up, and we have a match with them at Saturday night's main event. But before I forget, Cody came out and he did cut a promo, and one thing I did realize while watching the promo is that he's getting booed. The fans still like his theme. They're still going on with the whoa. Everyone's excited. But during the promo, there was some booing. So again, I don't know if this is because they're in the UK, they're across the pond, they're in Drew's territory right now. But there seems to be some disconnect with him and the fans. So we'll see where things go. But when his theme comes on, he's hitting. So at that time, he did say that he's going to confront Jacob, and Jacob responded fairly quickly. So they got active. They didn't waste any time. The interesting dynamic is these guys are both faces. And to me, it seems like Drew got the better end of the deal on the situation. Even though it looks like he was the one that attacked Jacob Fatu, Cody's getting the bad end of the stick at this just because he touched Jacob, and they're at odds now. So Drew's kind of getting to skate away a little bit, and Jacob and Cody are going at it. So he's, again, in a subtle way, he's holding another W. So we have those two fighting at Saturday night's main event, and we have a great situation going on there. Face versus face match. I feel like there'll be some sort of interruption, DQ. I think no man should lose at this point in time, so they're going to make them look strong. I feel like there's gonna be a disqualification, some sort of interference, I'm assuming by Drew, and they'll have to continue this feud at a later pay-per-view. Right now, we have to move on to Solo versus Damian Priest. We got two big men getting into the ring, having a pretty solid match. Again, I would like to see more big men back into the industry so we could have those big feuds, big moveset, big bodies moving around. And again, as I predicted, Solo wasn't going to win because I know there's still that storyline, that lingering storyline with the Wyatt Six. So at the end of this, it looks like Tala Tonga got ejected from the match for interfering. Damian Priest was able to hit the Razor's Edge. Solo kicked out. But the distraction came from the Wyatts when Bo Dallas or Uncle Howdy went for the lantern. Solo threw him into the announce table, got in the ring, and held the choke slam, essentially. So Damian won, got away, and now we're at a situation where next week we're having the MFTs versus the Wyatts, then the Tag Team Championships are on the line. I've already explained how I feel about both factions at this point in time because no one's really being utilized to their full potential. At this point, I hope at least the MFTs can get the championships off the Wyatts, because right now the supernatural thing, they can't pull this off regularly. It's not something they can do week to week. There's no level of excitement or consistency from the team. So again, if they're going to be on SmackDown, cool, be on SmackDown, do your terrorizing, do your thing, but holding the championships, again, you're going to hold the division hostage, and there's no point of that. That's a waste of time. So again, let's see how next week's goes, and hopefully the MFTs can put this feud to rest, and they can take the tag team championships off of the Wyatts. Now we go into a backstage segment. It looks like, before this backstage segment, we actually have Carmelo Hayes versus Leon Slater, and again, open challenge season for the championship, and we have good moment, good motion, good movement. Leon's actually giving Carmelo Hayes some work. You know what I mean? He's putting in some work. He's showing why he's the X Division champion, and a lot of offense, a lot of high-flying moves, a lot of counters, and this is the type of engagement that we need to see on a weekly basis. So I like the match. Ultimately, Carmelo Hayes won with the cutter off the top rope, 1, 2, 3. And then we cut to a scene backstage where Shinsuke is closely watching the match. Tama Tonga pulls up behind him, basically tells him, hey, stay away, that championship's mine, you had your opportunity. And then Shinsuke pulls up in Japanese once again. So again, we know they have some history back in New Japan, but it looks like Tama Tonga is definitely going to go for his championship. He's going to go for the Open Championship at some point in time. So that makes me feel like in order for this storyline to progress properly, that the MFTs will probably win that Tag Team Championship. And then Tama is going to try to get the United States Championship. Whether he wins or not, that's a different conversation. But it looks like that's what's next for him. And then we're probably going to have some sort of progression of Shinsuke versus Tama. So I don't know what comes first. We got to see what they do. I think for Carmelo Hayes to lose so quickly would not be the best way to go. But we got to see what they're brewing, because right now I don't see any storylines for Carmelo Hayes. What we have is him defending the championship in the open title. But to me, that's a little bit lazy. It's a way for a champion to be on the show but have no storyline. We don't know who his next opponent is. There's nothing to really invest in. It's just that he's holding a belt. If we want to help him get over, we need to have some sort of storyline for him. Like, let's look at the whole Chris Benoit versus Booker T. I know a lot of us don't talk about the crippler anymore. And I understand, but when it comes to just talking about wrestling and the matches, first to seven or best of seven series, Benoit is one of the best to sit down and talk about or compare to. So maybe there needs to be something like that. The last time he was in a best of seven with Andrade, didn't really manifest into anything. So right now is the perfect time to recalibrate that and maybe give him or get him a rival, so that way we can pull up and say, hey, we have some classics. So that's what I would like to see out of the United States Championship situation or storyline. All right, let us move on to Jordynne Grace versus Chelsea Green. We got Jade Cargill sitting on the outside, watching the match very closely. Again, Chelsea, we all know Chelsea's not going to get the W. She's just another body to be on the show. She's very entertaining, so based on her entertainment level and quality, she gets a lot of TV time, but we know for someone like Jordynne Grace, someone that they're trying to build up on the roster, is not going to take the L. So she came through, hit a finish, match was pretty short, and then we get a little Jordynne Grace and Jade Cargill back and forth. And ultimately, Chelsea tries to attack Jordynne Grace from behind, and she sidesteps and she knocks Jade off of the apron. And Jordynne picks up the belt, holds it up, throws it to Jade. So again, we're going to get a match. I'm thinking at the Royal Rumble, they're probably going to build it up a little bit more, have a little bit more matches. And then maybe we're probably going to see an attack from Jade leading up to it, and then that will solidify into a match at the Rumble. To me, that looks like the best option because, again, Jade's been holding that championship for way too long and no contenders. To me, it just doesn't seem like the right cook. A champion like her and the qualities that she brings to the table, she should be defending that championship. We don't need to have long title reigns without any meaning to them. We need to get those title defenses going, make sure they're meaningful, and that way we can see what's going on. And a part of the reason why it's like this, because again, the tag team division is oversaturated for the women, and they needed to make the tag team championships seem important, and they've achieved that. They do seem more relevant, but in doing so, they drained a lot of their single competitors from getting opportunities for these women's championships. All right, and then we go on to Sami Zayn versus Ilya Dragunov again. You already know Ilya comes out and he brings the intensity each and every single time. We got a lot of waist locks, German suplexes, suplex off the top rope by Sami Zayn. Like, we got a lot of competitiveness, a lot of intensity. I think Dragunov actually got busted open by Sami Zayn in this match, but ultimately Sami Zayn was able to get the W with the haluva kick. And it makes sense. We're looking at a situation where we're looking at Sami going to the Royal Rumble potentially to face Drew McIntyre in Saudi, right? Again, he has a lot of close ties. They like to see him out there. He does have the Arabic background. So again, you know how things are catered to Saudi a little bit differently. They do have a lot of requests just because of the amount of money they are putting into the industry and the business. So Sami Zayn being in a number one contenders championship match is money for them, especially if they like to pay for certain accommodations for their shows. So essentially, in a nutshell, that was SmackDown. SmackDown was good because it had some progression. We know what the next steps are. We're building towards something. And I think next week what's going to end up happening is we're going to see more Royal Rumble conversations and talks. The only conversation of the Royal Rumble that I heard or even remember is Cody has declared himself to be in the Royal Rumble. So you already know that's where the journey begins when it comes to reclaiming a championship, or at least trying to get back into the picture. He did make a mention of Stone Cold Steve Austin being the only man to win it 3 times. And I think it would be a travesty for anyone to tie or even beat that record. And again, I don't think Cody should win, simply because that would just be Royal Rumble win fatigue. I don't think he has the same type of charisma as Stone Cold Steve Austin in order for him to pull that bad boy off. But in today's era right now, I think that him winning it back-to-back is fine. That's it. If he does end up winning it a 3rd time, that has to be in like in 5 years from now when things are winding down. So something special will need to happen in order for him to qualify to do something like that. So that is my SmackDown in the UK recap. Guys, leave some comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. How do you feel about SmackDown? How do you feel about what the next steps are? Who do you think is going to come out on top at this Saturday night's main event in that Fatal 4 qualifying for the Drew McIntyre match at the Royal Rumble? Let me know. Don't be afraid. Let your friends know. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe. Peace.